Hello, my name is Cameron Faucette. I work at Watson Chapel High School located in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and I'm here to talk about my lesson plan that I created with the help of the Strive program as well as my business partner, Kohler. With Strive, I was able to elevate my teaching strategies to create a more impactful and relevant educational experience for my students with the incorporation of authentic scientific skills that careers and colleges seek. I have prepared my students for future STEM careers in college. So my business partner that I worked with over the summer is Kohler. Just to give you a little bit of history about Kohler, Kohler is a global leader in design and manufacturing. They was founded in 1873 by John Michael Kohler, and the program that I was based off of was housed in Sheridan, Arkansas. Kohler is broken up into three categories in Sheridan. They have their distribution center where they receive and ship out goods. They also have faucets where they make a lot of metal appliances in terms of bathrooms and faucets, as well as kitchen faucets and things of that nature. But what I was placed at was plastics, where they make a lot of different components of specifically components that's related to toilet seats as well as toilet seats themselves. So during my time at Kohler over the summer, one thing that I noticed was about 85% of the equipment and things that they would use was actually ran by machines. And the overall shift in job responsibilities was still something that a lot of people was getting used to. A lot of the components and toilet seats and things of that nature was made by hands. Whereas now, the machines make the vast majority of it, and the responsibilities have shifted to taking care of the machines that goes along with making those components. After shadowing a few engineers that work for Kohler, one of the things that I decided to shift myself in terms of my lesson plan was the way I go about approaching sales. I had the opportunity to witness a brand new machine that was being brought to the floor, and talked to the engineer there, and he just walked me a little bit through the process of his design and how he came up with the idea and the overall purpose of the idea. And one of the things that he mentioned to me was how he make his designs in a CAD-based system just to work out the kinks in order to see if it's feasible or not. And typically, what I do in terms of a lesson plan for my students involving the cell unit that we discussed, I typically give them a rubric. I will send them home and ask the parents to probably buy a few supplies. They will make a 3D either animal cell or plant cell, and they will come back to class to present it. But after being inspired by Kohler's engineers, as well as being inspired by a few mentors and mentees and advisors of Strive, I decided to shift my perspective a little bit. And instead of having them make a physical 3D model, what I decided to do was have them create a 3D animal or plant cell using a CAD-based system. And then from there, I wanted my students to be able to 3D print their designs. So these are the standards that I utilized in order to help me do that. This is just a copy of my lesson plan and my rubric that I utilized. I'm just going to go through this relatively quickly. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but this is the process that I use to help just kind of help facilitate things in terms of assessments and pre-test and things of that nature, ICANN statements and standards. Um, I have it located here in my presentation just in case you wanted a copy of it for yourself so that you can go through and have kind of a rubric yourself as to how to go about assessing your students. After my lesson, this is a little bit of the data. I'm going to go through a little more data a little bit later on, but I switched it up. I mean, I used two different rubrics. I use a Tinkercad rubric, and I used the rubric for overall oral presentation. And much to my surprise, and I'm so proud of my students, all of my students either met or exceeded my standards for both the Tinkercad utilization as well as 3D printing, as well as their oral presentations. Their oral presentations, one thing they had to do was actually convince me to buy their cell model. So why should I purchase your cell model versus purchasing another groups that attended right before you? And just hearing some of the ideas and things that my students came up with, I was very proud of my students. I was also fortunate enough to be placed in our local newspaper. The state came to our school, so along with them and a few other principals, They noticed a few things I was doing with not only my honors biology class, which my STRIVE program was based off of, but also my human anatomy class. And I was fortunate enough to be placed in our local newspaper. So I just want to share that article if you would like to see that. There's also a hyperlink there. So this is the overall data that I gained from my 3D design and cell lesson plan. Um, Things that I look for in terms of not only Tinkercad, but also 3D printing was the design and placement of organelles. Was the nucleus exactly where it should be located in terms of an animal cell or in terms of plant cells? That large central vacuole, was that placed correctly and in a spot that's more feasible or what we would expect to see that particular organelle? The functionality and feasibility of 3D printing itself. You may have created an excellent model in Tinkercad, but is your model actually feasible enough to be 3D printed successfully? Aesthetics and visual appeal, as well as overall quality and accuracy. Overall, this was a great lesson plan. I love doing it with my students, and my students actually love just kind of taking the reins, creating something from scratch, and not only creating it, but also being able to 3D print it. I did allow my students to take it home and they shared it with their parents. I got a lot of decent and excellent feedback from my students and a few parents in the community. These pictures are my students and their finished products, as well as their Tinkercad model that they had to create in order to 3D print. Um, I just want to talk a little bit about what Strive and Kohler did for me. It would not be possible for me to do this lesson plan without them. Strive provided us with a grant that I was able to use to purchase a 3D printer, and Kohler matched it by donating a 3D printer. And it was without both of those 3D printers, the overall time aspect definitely would have been an issue. So I just want to take this time to say thank you, Strive, and thank you, Kohler, for allowing me and my students to grow. And I hope you have an excellent day.